Thank you so much. I'm going to speak about some of the stuff that I've experienced in the last year. One of the things I want to talk about is that day was a horrible, horrible day. But it's something that, even as horrible as it was, I've seen a lot of things happen good because of it. One of the worst things a police chief can ever deal with is when we lose an officer. You're a member of my family. They're a son or a daughter, a brother, a sister. You did lose people from your family. One of the most amazing things to me, and I think you all have to understand and take credit for, is that the city of Oak Creek came together. We came together after this tragedy. But what you have to understand, it's because of the response that we received from you that made it really happen. It was kind of the mortar in that foundation. Brian and I have been doing this job for a long time. We've seen some of the worst things man can do to man. How we treat each other so poorly. And usually out of that comes a lot of hate and revenge, eye for an eye, whatever it might be. And the response that you showed that day, I never, in all of the cases I've ever worked, investigated, been part of, and I've been a victim of crime myself, never had victims stop and ask me how I was doing. Never had that happen before. It kind of took me back. And it kind of started getting the understanding of what we were dealing with as far as a community and the passion, the compassion, and the forgiveness that you have. That really set the tone for how this community came together. And it's being looked at nationwide. How does a community come together so quickly after something so horrific? And you have to understand you're the reason that happened. I've dealt with it a lot, and it doesn't happen that way. It's how you responded. And that's what the mayor and I have been talking about a lot. We want to be known not for that event. We want to remember the victims, never ever forget them. But what we want to be remembered for is the response and how we dealt with it and how we came together. I've been, because of this, I've been given the opportunity to travel around the country and speak about violence, which I have been doing, and I'm very optimistic. I wrote a letter to Congress regarding the UCR and making sure that people are recognized. Because when I fill out those forms, and I had to fill out those forms after this tragedy, I had nowhere to check for the members of the Gurdwara on where they fit. I had to check a box that said other. That's what I had to use because there was nothing. So I wrote a letter to Congress as part of that. And I'm glad that it was changed. It's very common sense. To me, I don't understand why there was even a debate or a hearing on it. It should have been done, and I'm glad that it was. But I've also, when I do these presentations, I go around the country, and I've done these presentations in Wisconsin and other places. I have a slideshow, and one of the things I make sure that I put up on that slideshow is I have the 6 photographs of the victims. I put them up there and I let them sit, because everyone needs to understand, no matter what we train for, what we plan for, there's somebody behind that. We need to remember the victims and why we do the things we do. Right after that, I put the pictures of my family. And when I say that, I mean my officers, the 7 officers who responded that day, because they're all one family now. My officers look forward to coming to the Gurdwara. I think, along with myself, many of them are addicted to your tea now when they stop and enjoy that. And that's a good thing. I'm a bit of a history buff, and I was sent books on India, the Sikh culture, from all over the world. They were sent to my office. And one of the things we throw around in law enforcement a lot is we throw around the term hero a lot. And Brian will tell you, Sam Lennon will tell you, don't call me a hero. I understand that. One thing, looking and reading about the Sikh community, I think that fits better is the term warrior. Those two were warriors on that day, and I think what they did, when I was looking at the Sargahari battle of 1897, the 21 Sikhs who fought, and the warriors that they were, I believe everything happens for a reason. I've said that everywhere. I don't believe in luck, whether it's good or bad. Brian was there for a reason that day, because he's a warrior. Sam was there for a reason that day because he's a warrior. And they embody the spirit of what I believe, from what I've read, is the Sikh warrior mentality. There was, I believe that's why they were put there that day, and this all came together. And because of it, there's a lot of good coming out of this. This itself here, in law enforcement, like I said, I'm very optimistic on how we're dealing with things, and things that are changing. Laws have changed, the way we deal with things, and it's opened the eyes and doors, opened the eyes of people to get to know their community. That Tuesday National Night Out last week that the governor was talking about, one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life, and I'll never forget. All those candles, the thousands of people that were standing out there that came together. And you have to understand, and I really hope you think about this, it's because of you that they came that day. They came that day to see you, to find out who are these compassionate people. We had to keep you from going to the hospital to see Brian that day. You wanted to see Brian. People wanted to see him, wanted to see my family. They were asking, how are the officers? You have to understand, we're not used to that. We are not used to that at all. And it was so refreshing. And it's something that we'll never forget, and that I am trying to pass on wherever I go in the country and talk. I have at least 3 or 4 slides about the Sikh culture and what you're all about, and how really that's what we're all about together. But people look at it and go, well, that's all common sense. That's what we all do. I don't think we do. You live it. You have shown us that's what you live, and I'm trying to push that in some of the presentations. So we never want to forget the victims of that day. It was a horrible, horrible day. But then again, like I've talked to many of my new friends in the Sikh community, there has been a lot of good that has come from that. And that's what they should be remembered for. We need to get past that day and not be remembered for the evil that came here. And I will never speak that individual's name. He doesn't deserve it, because there was cowardice on that day. But there was also a lot of strength, warrior mentality, and courage that was shown on that day and since. And that's what I wanted to be known for. So thank you so much for having me here. Thanks so much for being a part of our community. You've made it much better just by being here. Thank you very much.